What is up, party people? Today on the show, we are going to talk about 5 ways to win at Facebook, 21 tactics that kill on YouTube, 1001 things you must be doing on Instagram. Let's go. That's right, folks. Welcome back to episode 20 of the Art Lessons Podcast. I'm your host, Dave Conry, and in this show, I express real-time ideas on how to live a creative life, build a creative business, do all of that creative good stuff. Today is going to be no different. In fact, we're going to go long a little bit. I'm sure we're going to go long because I got a lot to say. A lot of things have come to light recently about some of these platforms that we're dealing with, and I wanted to talk about them at length. This all started with me thinking over the weekend about 2 truths. Truth number 1, change happens. Whatever you think you know about working online, well, that's gonna change. I guarantee it. Probably tomorrow. Truth number 2, you gotta pay the cost to be the boss. In other words, if you think you can exist on free promotion forever, well, you got another thing coming. Before I get into all that, I want to acknowledge that, hey, look, there's no microphone in front of me. Yes, that's right, folks. I have done away with the old puffy microphone, no longer have that big black phallic symbol in my face. Those of you in the audio, you don't care. But anyway, I've got a new microphone. It's sitting right up there on the top of the camera, and it is recording all of this, hopefully, in much grander audio fashion than the camera would by itself, at least in high quality enough that I can get the microphone out of my face and I can be a little bit more expressive with my visual aspects without having to worry about where I'm sitting in regards to the microphone that just happens to be right in front of me because I used to have to talk right in. You know what I'm talking about. So what you're probably hearing is going to be a little bit more real because you're going to hear some of the stuff that's happening around the room, and that's okay because it's rough and raw and real, but it's not so bad that it feels like I'm sitting in a cacophonous room with, like things. You tell me what you think. Is the audio good? Is it good enough for you? Does it work for you? Is it making you feel like you're in the scenario? I want to hear what you have to say about that. Let me know in the comments or text me, ping me, whatever you got to do. Okay, on with the show. So over the last week or so, 3 different things happened in the online world that kind of had some interesting effects on how we operate. First thing that happened was that YouTube took away its partner program from all of these small creators. If you don't know what this is about, basically, if you have a YouTube account and you have less than 1,000 followers and you had a partnership with them, meaning you were getting monetized, you were showing ads on your videos, you're no longer able to monetize those because you're too small for them. Second thing that happened is Facebook changed the news feed to be more family and friendly. Friends and family friendly. They changed the news feed so that you would see more things from your family and your friends and less things from outside sources that may not be. Meanwhile, also increasing the amount of suggested posts, which were formerly called sponsored posts, but now they're called suggested posts. You're getting a little bit more advertising in your face. You didn't know that probably, but you do now. Third thing that happened was that Instagram followed Facebook's lead, now showing you more of the followers that you follow instead of just consistently showing you like 800 pictures of the same person repeatedly. Now they're showing you 400 of the same person and 400 of another person. They're divvying it out a little bit better than they were, but they've also increased their ad frequency. And with all of these things, there's been a lot of like, yay, that's great, and no, that's bad, and a lot of moaning and groaning both directions. And the point being this, that just as soon as you think you know how a certain platform is going to behave, they are going to make sure you have no idea what's up. We've all been operating on these platforms for over a decade now, and the only thing that I've ever seen that's been constant is the change. I can't even recall how many changes Facebook has made where people have had these major upheavals, where it's like, why did you change, Facebook? I would liked it the way it was. And then they change it, go back kind of the way they were, and then, why did you change it, Facebook? I liked it the way it was, even though it was different than the way it was, which is now the way it was before. Change happens, and we got to get over that, because contrary to what some of us might think, those changes were not put in place to punish you. They weren't put in place to punish your business. Anytime a change is made within those platforms, it's largely to benefit the end user. Those are the people that Facebook cares about most. Not so much you and I, because we have an objective, we're trying to take advantage of this situation. We're trying to take advantage of the free publicity. They don't care so much about us taking advantage of that situation. They care more about us engaging and enriching our lives with the people that we already care about. Not how many art pieces we can sell, or ebooks we can push on people, or videos that we shove in people's faces in order to eventually sell them more art and ebooks. Each one of those platforms had their reasons. Facebook and Instagram's purpose is to get rid of all the bad actors and the fake news that has been published around them lately, like all the controversy regarding the Russia hacking and all of that stuff. Facebook is trying to get out of the way, make it more easy for us to take in information that we want rather than the stuff that we don't want to see or shouldn't see, shouldn't even be there in the first place. YouTube's changes were made to create a better vetting process for their partner program in order to create a more friendly environment for both their users and their advertisers. More likely the latter, but still, they wanted to make it more friendly for everybody so that they didn't have to worry about seeing something, again, that they probably shouldn't be seeing. Some of you might have heard about Logan Paul recently in the news. If you're not familiar with Logan Paul, go look it up. The suicide forest debacle is not the only circumstance out there. There are plenty of other people that are doing things that are causing havoc within the YouTube environment, causing problems for YouTube, causing problems for advertisers, causing problems for partners like me. Logan Paul wasn't the first, won't be the last, but they're trying harder to avoid that situation. Now, all these changes are happening, and it starts to create problems for creative people like you and I. It creates problems for everybody, but we're talking to the creative people, so it creates problems for people like you and me. We have to reconfigure. We have to figure out what to do next because we're always trying to break out and get seen, but every time we do, they change the rules on us, and it gets a little disheartening at times because we work so hard. We're doing this the way they told us to do it, or we're doing the things that maybe somebody else's tactics told us to go this way, and then we do those tactics and then we get burned by it. It can suck. It can break our hearts. It can really be a tough journey. We start to feel like pawns in their game, like we're just a data node in their algorithm for them to observe, as if we are like ants in an ant farm or amoeba under a microscope. Hey, what is that one doing? Let's look at them and see more closely what they're doing, and then figure out how we can mess their world up. But guess what? You're half right. They're not trying to mess with your world, but they are looking at you to figure out what you're doing and how to make the whole user experience better. So yes, on one hand, you are a data point for these people to look at and observe and try and figure out what to do next. But on the other hand, you're over here using their platform for free to gain more attention, to gain more sales, to gain more followers, whatever it is. There's a lot of give and take. There's a lot of push and pull. There's a lot of yin and yang on all parties involved who are just trying to find the balance. So if we've got all this back and forth going on and it will never stop, ever, then what is the solution? How do we win at this game? As you might expect, I have a few thoughts. Number one, we should be posting our work more consistently. If you're one of those types that's only sharing your work as soon as you finish it and you only post maybe once a week or a couple times a week, then you're missing out on a huge opportunity to reach out to others. Now that this algorithm has really kind of tightened its noose around things, you're gonna need to work harder to make sure that you get in the faces of some of these people. Maybe you were a favorite for a while, and maybe you were showing up regularly on some of these people's newsfeed, but now the newsfeed is kind of broadened up a little bit, allowing more people. So now you got to work harder to kind of be there more often. And if some of these people are following you for the right reasons, meaning they're sharing your work or liking your stuff or constantly looking at you, commenting or whatever, then they're going to end up organically getting more of you in their face. But if that only happens once a week, meaning you're only posting once a week, or every few days, they're not going to get the exposure that you want, and they're not going to be able to share enough of you because the algorithm is not going to reach back beyond a week to share something with them that's old news by now. So if you're trying to figure out what to share next, because you normally only share the whole piece or the finished piece, well then go a little deeper. Show the process. Show the works in progress. Show the details. Show the nitty gritty of what's happening behind there. Show what happens when you're not working on this. What are the things you're doing? Show your tools and your supplies. Show other aspects of your creative life that lend to the work itself. Show more of everything so that people not only get to see behind the curtain, which I highly recommend because people dig that stuff, but it gives them a sense of why you do what you do. Why the finished piece means so much because they understand everything that went into it beforehand. Number two, interact and engage with other people. The more that you connect with the people, the more they're going to want to connect back with you. Not everybody, but most people are going to reconnect once you have connected with them. When you get comments on your posts, comment back. Do so in a timely manner. I often post on completely random people's stuff, and it's amazing to me how sometimes I don't hear back from those people. I don't get comments in return for a week or more. I got to give those people at least more props than the folks that don't respond at all. You should be responding pretty toot sweet, meaning get to it, because it's about maintaining the conversation with these people. Don't just go, thanks. I'm as guilty as this as anybody. Don't just say thanks, but perhaps engage them to want to interact more. If you interact more, they interact more with you, you interact more with them. It's constantly bringing that piece back up into relevancy in Instagram or Facebook or whoever's terms. But don't make it a ploy. Do it organically. Make sure you're doing it from the heart and you're honestly interested in what these people have to say. Also, reach out to more of those that you follow, or those that follow you, or even those that you find serendipitously through whichever platform you're on. The more that you do reaching out yourself, again, the more interaction you're going to get back in return. And if I might also add to this, keep your emoji responses in your pocket. If your only response is a heart with a thumbs up or a praise hand, if that's your only response, then you're doing it wrong. Number 3, collaborate whenever possible. The more you work with others, the bigger your network gets. I'm not breaking any bounds with that business knowledge right there. Everybody knows that. But in 2018 and beyond, it is my belief that new friends, new peers, new colleagues is going to be the way that we grow better. Because I think that all of these algorithm changes are creating an opportunity for us to engage and create more stuff with other people. And the more we do that, the more likely these platforms are going to reward us for it, because we are doing more engagement and working with others and doing things together. But let me caution you, do not treat this as quid pro quo. Do not go into any of these collaborative relationships by going, hey, I'll scratch your back if you scratch mine. In fact, I highly recommend that if you're going into a collaboration, you need to figure out how you can help that person first. How can you benefit them, rather than thinking about how does this benefit me? That can be tough, because the whole point of us doing this thing is sometimes to get attention on our stuff so that we can sell things to people. But if we are going to truly be a collaborative force with others, then we need to think of them first, how they can benefit from us. Number 4, start running your business, like a business. Part of the reason that these platforms are making these changes is because they've got a business to run. They've got things they need to pay for. Massive staff, offices all over the world, they have to pay for the things that they need to do. And in order to do that, they need to change their advertising platform, how they make their money. They need to fix all of that. You and I need to consider the same thing. We need to start looking at these places as opportunities for growth in the more business-minded sense, rather than the desperate, starving artist, scarcity mindset that we have around needing free publicity. So many of us creatives will spend thousands of dollars on our tools, our equipment, our whatever we need to get our work done, but we won't turn around and spend $20 on Facebook advertising because, it's too expensive. This beat up old brush almost cost me $20. I won't spend that on Facebook for other people to see me? Am I crazy? I actually don't know if that brush cost $20, but I know it was expensive. You get my point. If you want to play with the big kids, you need to start acting like them. So it's time to add an honest-to-goodness line item in your budget that says marketing expenses, and act on that. Put your money where your mouth is. And number 5, possibly the most important thing of all, stop worrying about how many damn followers you have. Guilty. Completely, totally guilty. I'm always looking at my subscriber count. I'm always looking at how many people are following me on Instagram. I'm always looking about how many shares I've gotten on Facebook. And it's stupid. The reason we do that is because other people that we know have bigger followings. And we look at them and go, oh my God, I should be where that person is. The funny thing about that is those people are looking at other people above them saying, I should be where that person is. And so on and so forth. Instead of worrying about all the people that you don't have following you right now, worry about the ones that do. Engage with those people that are most important to you because they're there. They have chosen you. They have said, I'm in. So go deal with them. Because 100 rabid fans who are willing to take a bullet for you are always going to be better than 10,000 passive, ambivalent people that are just there to, hey, here's a heart. I don't like that picture. I'm going to follow them. Work with the people you got and make them a force. So now you may be asking, Dave, what's your plan? What are you going to do? Now, I had spent a good portion of the weekend thinking about all of these changes because it started to expose me to myself about all the places where I am doing work and all the places where I'm not. So here's my strategy, and as you can probably ascertain, it's in a bulleted form. Number one, lots of number ones, but stick with me. Number one, show up more often. We already kind of talked about this, but in a different way. Yes, you need to post more often to make sure you stay relevant into these people's faces. What that means is going to be entirely up to you. For me, it definitely means at least once a day on Instagram and probably on Facebook and Twitter and other places. And that's probably the key point right there, is it's not just in this one space. It's not just in Instagram stories. It's not just in Instagram. It's not just in Facebook. It's in all of these places as often as I possibly can. Granted, I have to keep in mind that I don't want that to take over my entire world. I don't want my world to be everything I post online. I still obviously have to do the actual work. I still have to interact with actual human beings in my house. I need to make sure I do this stuff, but I don't want it to overtake my world. There's a balance. Again, the yin and yang, the push and pull. Secondly, and probably even more important, is I need to put more of my work online for people to buy. I am notoriously bad about this. I have a bunch of stuff that is like sitting back here on this shelf that probably could go up in my shop, and it just hasn't. I'm always doing something else. I'm always posting on Instagram or looking at Instagram or looking at Facebook. Instead, I could be taking that time to get that stuff up online so that you guys can buy it if you're so inclined. Number two, I need to create a better workflow. I've noticed that what I do when I post something, whether it's up on Instagram, up on YouTube, wherever, whether it's posting something for sale or posting something for social media, I have this tendency to think very myopically about it. I got to get something up on Instagram. Boom. Instead, what I need to do is I need to look at this about the workflow of the whole process. So if I post a video up online, how can I then take that and put that on my blog? How can I then take that and share that up on Instagram? If I do this podcast, obviously I'm going to put it up on SoundCloud or iTunes or whatever, and then I'm going to put it up on YouTube or Facebook. But then what does it go from there? It needs to go back on my blog. I'm notoriously bad about not doing that. And then it needs to go in other places. And how do I do that in a way that's fluid enough, and that I remind myself that to get this stuff like this happening, I need to have a good workflow so that it feels very seamless and doesn't feel like, work. Again, I don't want to kill myself by trying to be here all the time. I want to make it as easy on myself, so I need to create a workflow for all of these processes so that I can get them out wherever I need them, but do so in a way that's beneficial. Let me give you a real-time example. This podcast episode, I wrote it completely. I'm actually looking down here right now at my episode notes that I wrote in Evernote. I've got them here and I'm reading from them, and then I'm spitting them here to you in the camera. Once I post all of this to wherever platform I'm going to post it to, I'm going to take these notes and share those on my blog, which you can go to at daveconry.com. I'm going to share those notes there because sometimes you guys might want to say, hey, look, and I'm going to keep it pretty raw. I'm not going to go in and edit all this. I'm just going to take it just as is and put it up there so you guys can see the whole process. You can see how I think before I post it and talk about it here. You can see the difference between what I've written and what I speak and how I fill in those gaps. Some people might find that interesting. I don't expect everybody will, but occasionally a person might say, whoa, that's kind of cool. And then the added aspect of it is that it gives me a little bit of SEO juice. It's a win-win. And I've already got it written. All I got to do is copy and paste it right into my blog. Number three is to finish older projects first. I've got a mountain of projects. Maybe not. I've got a small molehill of projects that I said I was going to finish, which I didn't. I've been putting off and put it off. Instead, I jump into new projects more often because, they're easier. And sometimes I lose the motivation to finish one of the other ones, and so it just kind of sits on a shelf, a proverbial shelf, because some of them are digital. I need to get on those before I start new projects because I'm not doing myself any good by just letting them collect dust up there. They need to get out to you so that you can take advantage of them. You can appreciate them. The world can appreciate them. Here's the thing about that is if I don't put those things out, I could have been missing out on an opportunity to that being the thing that tips everything in my favor. What if the project that I never finished was the one that people loved the most and ended up being the thing that got me to my next level of success. The only way I'm ever gonna know that is to put it out. So I need to get back into that shelf, dig back into that pile of crate of whatever visual metaphor you need. I need to dig back in there, pull that stuff out, and get it up online to you. Then I can get back to the stuff that I really want to do, which is the new stuff, and work on that diligently without blinking, because I don't want that to become old stuff. 4 is work with others more. That goes back to the whole collaboration thing. I won't go into deep detail about that, but you guys figured out we're already going to be talking more about this soon. I will share more in a minute. Yeah, work more with other people, because rising tide lifts all boats. Keep saying that, but it's true. Number 5 is I need to be more conscientious about the actual work. Don't rush it. Don't push it too fast just because I feel like I need to get it out. Figure out what's going to be the best thing for the piece and then work on that diligently. Think more about how to make those pieces better. Think about how I can use more techniques, more styles, more whatever to make them more interesting for you guys. Because obviously the more that I improve my work, the more likely it's gonna find the right home for the right person. I want to spend a little bit more time with the work and make sure that I'm putting forth the absolute best effort. Now, does that mean I'm just gonna sit there and plod away at some piece until it's absolutely positively perfect and never release it until then? Hell no. Of course, I'm gonna get this out. I'm gonna get these pieces out as quickly as I can, but I'm gonna do so with the best intention. Number 6, invest in my company and myself. Spend money where I need to in order to get more attention. Spend money on the things that I need in order to do a better job. Spend money on equipment when I feel like I want to have a better output, for whatever that means. And number 7, stop worrying about what others think and just do me. I'm pretty good at this already, but there's always the little voice in the back of the head that's telling us, you could do this like them. You should be more like that person. You're not as good as them because they have more followers. I'm not worried about those people. I'm more worried about me. I'm just gonna keep doing my thing, doing it my way, trying to live as organically as I possibly can with this creative stuff, helping others where I can, and putting out more work into the world, because that just seems like the right thing to do. So that's the strategy, but here's the problem. I should have been doing all of that stuff all along. In fact, everybody should have been doing all of that stuff all along. Okay, maybe the details are unique to me, but the general outline of what I just said can be applied to just about everybody. I guarantee you that that list is a winning strategy for anyone, but it takes a lot of really, really hard work. And let's be real for a second, that much hard work scares some of you. Hell, it scares me, because I've gotten really good at being okay with just okay. I absolutely positively can be doing more, and it wouldn't even hurt me that much to get there. I just have to change my mindset around it. The way I'm working right now isn't working to the goals that I want to achieve. I need to work harder in order to get what I want. You need to work harder in order to get what you want. It's just a fact of life. I want to be formidable. I want to be a juggernaut. I want to be a force to be reckoned with in this creative world, but I'm not going to be able to make that happen by doing the same old, same old. I can't make the dreams happen if all I'm doing is spending my time bitching about how these platforms are killing my opportunities. I can't make that happen if all I'm doing is sitting in my hole waiting for the world to come to me. If we are to achieve our goals, we need to stop waiting for the platforms to do the work for us, because that is just not going to happen anymore, ever. We need to be the leaders on our success path, but it takes a shit ton more work than we're doing now. Hate to say it, but it's true. Okay, question of the day. Okay, artist of the day. Yes, I did do those back to back because the person that we are talking to is both the artist of the day and asked a very potent question of the day, and so I figured I would kill 2 birds with one big fat rock. Today's question comes from Jazel Jozic out of Sydney, Australia. Jazel says, I'm having an art crisis. I'm just feeling a little frustrated because I'm realizing now that I'm at a point where I actually want my work to be seen outside of Instagram, and I don't know where to start. It's a bit overwhelming, and I know people who know people, but I don't want to seem like I'm using anyone. Help! That's a good question, Jazel, and I'm glad you asked. So a little background on Jazel before we get started. She is a young graphic designer slash photographer slash illustrator based out of Sydney, Australia. We interacted through Instagram and kind of had this mentor relationship for last year, more than a year now. If you look at her account on Instagram, which I think is important to the conversation, you'll see that she has a very progressive way of approaching her Instagram account. For those following YouTubers, like basically it's just this continuous thread of images that she creates in Photoshop and then uploads as panels and it's just one consistent flow into another, into another, into another, and it's really cool. I really appreciate where she's headed with it, and I think that she has a lot of potential. So now she's looking to see how she can take that and turn it into something greater. And I asked her before I even got into this, I said, where do you want to go? Do you want to go with photography? Do you want to go with the design? And she said, well, both. So now I'm answering this question with the idea that she is more of a contemporary artist that has design influences, that has illustration influences, that has photography influences. I'm looking at it from that perspective. Some of this stuff may carry over, but if it doesn't quite fit within one of those other boxes, well, then we can dive deeper into those. Jay. But yeah, and I want to give a big shout out to Serendipity for this, because this whole conversation that we've had today definitely lends itself to what she's got going on. And I think that obviously this same struggle happens for a lot of us, but because she is young and very ambitious right now, I think she's eager to get going faster. Because number one, she's comparing herself to some of her other friends or some of the people that she's known that have gotten into galleries, gotten into the attention of magazines or whatnot early on in their life, and she feels like she can do that too. I honestly believe that she probably has the capability. I do think that she needs to up her game a little bit in some places, but I think that for the most part, she's doing really great work, and she just needs to keep her head down and be patient about this stuff. But if I were to give her some tips, this is what I would tell her. First, go and collaborate with as many people as you possibly can. Find people locally who need somebody to take photographs of them. Maybe it's an Instagram influencer, and go ask them, hey, I'll gladly shoot you for free if you be willing to do some artistic stuff with me. Again, the more often you get your face in the front of other people who can share you with other people, the more likely you're going to grow. Number two, find as many online magazines or curator accounts that you can send your work to and say, hey, look, I'd like to be featured. What can I do to get into your feed? What can I do to get into your magazine? What can I do to get into your print magazine? Start sending your stuff out to as many people as you possibly can. You're gonna get a lot of no's. You're gonna get a lot of people saying, no thanks. But that doesn't matter. What matters is that you keep doing the work, and eventually somebody's gonna say, yeah, I dig it. And more people are gonna say that. And then once you get noticed by some of these other names, then other people are going to appreciate you. Don't be discouraged if you hear your first 10 or 20 or 50 or 100 no's. Keep going until you find the ones that want to work with you, that want to share your stuff. 3, keep pushing the boundaries of your work, and don't be constrained. I think that your work is really progressive, so I think that you should do more of that. But at the same time, you should refine it and get better at it and try to figure out what's going to be the best way to make your progressive stuff look better and appear cooler. Not saying that it looks bad, I'm just saying we're always on a journey to improve our work, and so be critical of what you're putting out there in a way that says like, okay, I need to post, but how can I make this just a little bit better than I did last time? And just be real critical about your work and figure out where you need to improve. If you're working with just your photography, take your work and put it in front of other photographers who might be a little bit more further along than you and ask them, how would you have made this shot better? If you're talking to designers, same thing. How would I make this design a little bit better? How can I make this look a little bit more cohesive? Whatever category you want to put yourself in, go talk to those people and see, how can I be better? Go find yourself an online apprenticeship maybe with somebody who does similar work that you say, listen, I would love to help you do the thing that you need to do. Sort your files for you. Edit all your images. I would color correct stuff for you if you just do me a favor and let me learn from you. How do I do the thing that you're doing? That's a little bit tougher to achieve sometimes, but it can happen. It's a possibility that you could find just the right person that's gonna, take you a mile ahead of where you are now. Sorry, kilometers. I should have said kilometers. She's Australian. A lot further than you are now. I would also tell her to make sure she has an online presence other than just Instagram, because really that's all she's got. She does have a link to her Tumblr account, but she hasn't updated her Tumblr in a while. I think that you should be updating that Tumblr a little bit more. If not Tumblr, then where? Maybe your own website, putting your work up there so that other people can see it. The more often that you can put yourself in other places, the more likely you're going to get found. You eventually want people to buy from you, or at least hire you for your services. Maybe it's photography, maybe it's design. You need to give them a platform to go find you. And just having a note up on Instagram that says DM me for possible commissions or photo shoots, that could work, but it's not necessarily going to work great. I think people are going to want to see more of a presence from you, especially considering that you are a little bit on the younger side, and in general people have trust issues. She is going to hate that I said that, because she thinks that me treating her as younger, she just hates it. I'm just speaking from a point of view that I think that a lot of people might have trust issues because they're looking at years of experience versus not many years of experience. So anything that you can do to present yourself as more of a professional in your field, the more likely you are going to get those people to pay you money to do those things. That may mean having your own website, or at least having a presence in other places that maybe these people go to find whatever it is you want them to find you for. And then finally, all the other rules that I talked about before: share more often, be more places, work with more people, blah, blah, blah. Do all those things. So for anybody else, make sure you go check out Jazel's work. You can go find her at JSlays on Instagram, which is JAYYY Slays. I will link to it in the description. Go find her and check her out and heart up 800 of her photos. And if you like what she's doing, let her know, interact with her in an authentic way, and maybe you guys might build some sort of relationship together that helps you both grow. Okay, that's been a long episode. I got a few more things to share with you real quick. This has been episode 20 of the podcast, which means that is the end of season 2. And as it goes with my seasons, I'm going to be taking a very short break. I'll be back in a few weeks, about mid-February. Not going to promise on a date yet because I didn't look at the calendar. But what I can promise is new hotness. As I've alluded to in the past, I will now be bringing new voices on board into the show. Yay! Now, before any of you start to think I'm turning this into an interview show, just cut that out, because that's not what this is. I still want this to be a show about my creative reflections. But in an effort to show the work and ideas of other creatives, as well as to give some confirmational bias to my own point of view, I want you guys to hear from some people who are digging in the dirt, getting their hands dirty, just like you and me, so that we can have conversations around all of these things that we call a creative life. This is not about thought leaders. This is not about sharing massive success stories. It's just good conversations with people who are trying to make their artistic dreams a reality, just like you and I. Now, considering that some of those conversations will be internet-based calls, I'm not going to have video of some of those things. I'm not a big fan of that whole side-by-side Skype screen content. I'm not a big fan. They're going to be offered as audio only, and for those of you who are here in the video, I apologize for that, but you are going to have to find them on other audio platforms instead. You're still going to get other videos. You're just not going to get those videos. I'm not going to do them every week. I'm going to intersperse them maybe 3 times a season, 3 or 4 times a season. We will see. I will know more later. As it stands right now, I've got 2 or 3 people lined up who want to have conversations, and gonna reach out to a few more, and hopefully we'll have ourselves some really good chats with people that make a difference. Okay, folks, I'm out. Thank you for hanging out for all of season 2 of the Art Lessons podcast. Stay tuned in a few weeks for season 3. But until then, remember, be good today, be better tomorrow. See ya.